In this video, we're going to discuss the user-defined Ajax callback in more detail. And what you can see here is a grid with a somewhat contrived example. In this example, I'm going to assume that we have price times quantity, and then the extension is a calc field, and we've defined this as a client-side calc field, so that as soon as I make a change over there, you can see that the total calculates. But let's assume that tax is a more complicated formula, and in this contrived example, I'm going to say that any item where the part number is above 100 is taxable, or below 100 is not taxable. Of course, in the real world, you'll have a much more complex criteria. And let's assume that because the criteria are more complex, that in order to compute tax, you can't do that on the client. You have to go back to the server to do that. So in order to do that, you'll make a user-defined Ajax callbacks. So when I press this button over here, we do a user-defined Ajax callback, and we compute the tax at 5% if it's taxable, and then compute the total with tax over there. So you can see we click the button, that makes an Ajax callback, and we've set the font to be green to indicate that it was a taxable. But when I go back over here and click this button, since the part number was less than 100, the tax is 0, and so we set the font to be blue on the Ajax callback. So let's go now and see how this was actually done. So we'll go to fields here, and there's our button over there which says compute tax, and then we'll go look at the JavaScript over here, and you'll see that we used Action Javascript, and the event handler for this Action Javascript was to call an internal Xbasic function which is defined here as part of the grid called compute tax. So this compute tax function is going to be defined in this grid component, and in defining it, to get a head start, we can click this prototype function, which gives us the function prototype. We then copied the function prototype to the clipboard, and then went to properties over here, and we went down to the Xbasic function declarations, and let's take a look here at the function declaration. So in all user-defined callbacks, the Xbasic function that handles the callback gets past this object E, and this E object is very important in the particular case of the user-defined Ajax callbacks, because it has a lot of useful information in it. So E contains all of the information that was submitted in the Ajax callback, and then before this function is called, some additional information is added into E to make the writing of the function easier. And in particular, this object current row data new is added. In addition to current row data new, current row data old is also available, which would be the original values in the field. So we're going to, in our Xbasic function, we're going to dim price quantity and product ID. Product ID would be E underbar current row data new product.id, product underbar ID. So that's going to give us the product ID value for the current row, and then price, which we've dimmed as a numeric field, is going to be E underbar current row data new price. Since all of the data in this E object is character data, we use the val function to convert it into a numeric, and then the same thing is true of quantity. And so as we said earlier, that the items are taxable if the product ID is 100 or above, but the product IDs all start with P, so that in other words they're P101 or P102, etc. So we strip off the leading character. So let's pause now and then pick it up in video number 2.